That's not my shorty. That's not my work. That's my woman. And she in her feelings right now. Cause she need my hand around her throat and this D all up in her guts. This is Bedtime Stories. Grownup edition. Genesis. And because y'all been rocking with your girl the long way, this is bonus episode 4, part 3. Now, in part 2, I put it down for the ladies. So part 3 is all about the fellas. And for your listening pleasures, I got a few selections by that boy, Nico Calais. Now, if you haven't gotten into his music, you should.
Don't know if there could be in us no more. Everything ain't been everything. I will not confuse love with lust no more. It's raining outside, but it's sunny for real. We eating, but niggas still hungry for real. That ain't my cologne, that's the money you smell. Baby, I'm him, it's no wonder you fail. It's no wonder whenever we fucking, you feel like you fucking the man of your dreams.
When Rennie got the okay from the Queen Mother to fly to Puerto Rico and be with Stephanie for the last few weeks of her pregnancy, she had very simple instructions. The Queen Mother said, Renia Johnson, do not get your tail to that island and cut a fool. You understand me? Either work through whatever it is that's going on between you and Stacks, or let that man go. But I better not get a phone call from Manny saying that you have killed, poisoned, or kidnapped Stacks or anybody else. You understand me? And the jury is still out on whether Rennie is going to follow those simple instructions. She agreed to, though. So when Stacks' phone rung and Rennie was on the other line talking about, what you doing? That man was annoyed to the fifth power. He'd been working nonstop for the last few weeks, ever since that little ambush at Angela and Stephanie's estate in Denver. And he'd not had time to see Rennie, which resulted in their conversations being a little strained. When Rennie asked to see him, he wasn't available. And she ain't like that. She told him to make time for her, or she'd find somebody who would. And he didn't take too kindly to the threat. As a matter of fact, that man told Rennie, be easy, shawty. We talked about this. I'm a working man. I got a lot on my plate, and it's all right for you to be a whole lot to handle. But I told you, don't be a problem. Stop playing with me. Don't get effed up. Don't get some little nigga touched either. Rennie said, I just don't understand. I get that you working, but ain't nobody never working that hard. Hard enough to be willing to go this long without this good coochie. I puts it down. What's the problem? You got somebody putting it down better? And Zach said, I'm not going to keep telling you that it's me and you. You either trust me, believe me, or you don't. And if you don't, then what we doing? And Rennie said, all right, Stacks, have a good day, bye. And hung up on the man. He hadn't heard from Rennie since then. And every time he'd called, she sent him to voicemail. He knew exactly what she wanted. She wanted him pissed off and pulling up. Rennie loved that knockdown, drag out, emotionally upset sex. And the angrier she could get a man, the better he seemed to put it on her. And she liked it like that. But Stacks didn't have time for Rennie's games. He wasn't a soldier, not even a lieutenant. And he wasn't just a general. He'd managed to earn a spot as the general to the right hand of the Lopez organization. And while he was assigned to True, who was sidelined for the time being, he had work coming out of his pores. Because Javier kept him hopping. Javier's general, Nathaniel Nate Jimenez, had been assigned to Corey and Stephanie's detail. And that man had his hands full, which is why he'd sent his wife to Texas to be with his youngest daughter, Natalia. And Stacks said as much when he answered Rennie's call. He said, what I'm doing? I'm working. What you doing? Shouldn't you be in the lab right now? I thought you said phones weren't allowed. Rennie said, maybe you've been too busy to keep up with the calendar. I'm on spring break, and I should be spending it with my man, but he's busy. Stacks said, your spring break started on Friday. It's Thursday. What you been doing, Rennie? Rennie said, oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Going from here, there, and everywhere. Looking for something to get into. And before she could elaborate, they were interrupted by one of the lieutenants who was telling Stacks that they needed to head to the main house. And that was precisely what Rennie needed to overhear. Rennie said, let me guess, and you gotta go. Stacks said, I'm gonna call you back. Answer the phone this time. When they hung up, Stephanie said, now why you ain't just tell that man that you in Puerto Rico? Rennie said, because that's too much like right. I need that nigga to know that I could find him at any time. You know I love being underestimated. And that nigga got me effed up. He think he got me squirreled away at MIT. My hands are tied because the Queen Mother don't let me move freely. He needs to know that if he don't pull up, I will. And I need to see the look on his face when he realized that I'm right at his back door. Stephanie said, girl, it's too much going on for you to be playing these games. You know that, right? Rennie said, oh, it ain't never too much going on for games. I love a good game. Stephanie said, Rennie, you been taking your medication? Rennie said, girl, yes. You cannot medicate personality, though. And you know how I get down. Stephanie said, oh, yeah, I know. And in a minute, I guess Stacks is going to know, too. Over at the main house of the Lopez estate in Puerto Rico, Sincere was finding out just why he'd been summoned. Andy's right-hand man, Javier, and both generals, Nate and Stacks, had been gathered to meet him upon his arrival, along with Lorenzo. And when the little meeting was called to order, Nate said, we got an issue. I sent my wife to be with my daughter because the situation here has heated up. I put a team on Rodrigo, the church administrator that Corey fired. Imagine my surprise when he was followed to a meeting with a Lopez soldier by the name of Bruce. Bruce was Natalia's ex-boyfriend. A few hours later, he was seen meeting with a gringo from the States. Earlier that day, though, Lorenzo had gotten a notification. You want to tell us about it, Lorenzo? And then Lorenzo said, sure. As you all know, all travel plans are tightly guarded, including the flight plans and itineraries for all of our planes. I got an alert that a member of my team checked into the itinerary for Miss Eugenia. And while I have no reason to be suspicious of him, at this point, I question everything. And when I questioned him, he told me that a member of Big Nate's team asked him to verify his wife's arrangements. When I asked him who that person was, he said it was Bruce. First, I already knew that he was not a member of Nate's team. Second, I knew that Natalia had gone no contact with Bruce several years ago, and Big Nate had made it very clear to that man that he needed to leave his daughter alone. So I alerted Javier. Then Javier said, and then I contacted the lieutenant at the head of Natalia's security team and had him gather everybody on his team. After a brief discussion, it was quickly determined that Bruce had made contact with one of those soldiers, a soldier that he'd been known to be a little friendly with. When she was questioned, she admitted that Bruce had asked her where she was and what she was assigned to do, and thinking nothing of it, she told him that she was in Denver, assigned to protect Natalia. I quickly implemented the new process that Angela created for addressing potential leaks anywhere along the food chain. Bruce has been snatched, and every person that he's been in contact with for the last 72 hours has already been questioned and pulled off their respective jobs. We are in the process of following all the breadcrumbs that lead from Bruce to the people he's been in contact with and to anybody they've been in contact with. It looks like Bruce has been acting alone, and his activities are limited to gathering and collecting information. We've been pressing him, and he's been real tight-lipped. He's either a really good liar or really stupid. He claims that he was just trying to do a good deed, make sure that the woman he still loves and her family are good, that they're safe, well protected, and that any possible threats against them can be foiled. He also claims that he got wind of the fact that Rodrigo is looking for revenge against CT, and he'd only met with him to find out what his plans were. He said that he didn't report what he found because he was trying to save the day in a bid to be promoted from soldier to lieutenant. Sincere asked, and you believe that nigga? Javier said, of course not. That's why you're here. You're going to press him about your girl. Sincere said, well, she's not my... Nate said, oh, we know she's not your girl. But Bruce don't know that. You and I will discuss that later. Right now, though, we need to come up with a plan of action. You're going to need to beat your chest. Men like Bruce don't like competition. And if he's as emotionally unstable as I've always believed that he is, he's going to completely unravel when he finds out that you have what he thinks is his. Sincere said, I'm on it. But is Natalia good? I've been calling her and I haven't been able to... Nate said, my daughter's good. It's my job to keep her safe. But I appreciate your concern. Sincere, feeling like he'd just been played, said, got it. So what about your other daughter? What's her name again? She good after that little situation in Texas? Nate said, you think you smart, huh? You should probably stick to the rivers and lakes that you used to, like in Miami and New York. And Sincere shut the hell up, because he didn't know how Nate knew about his little situationships in Miami and New York, but clearly he did. And if he did, that meant that the people who were after the families just might know too. When the little meeting wrapped up, Sincere headed out of the main house with Stacks and Javier. They were en route to the place where Bruce was being held. As they walked to the car, they saw a group of soldiers that included a mixed bag, females, males, and a lieutenant. The female lieutenant made eye contact with Stacks and nodded her head, and Stacks nodded his too. Then she looked at one of the female soldiers. They made eye contact, looked at Sincere, and she looked back at Stacks and said, me and my girl's hitting up Bellamy's tonight. You should fall through and bring your friend. She had no idea who Sincere was, but it was clear to Rennie from the bush that she was hiding behind that old girl was too damn friendly with her man. Rennie popped out of the bushes like a jack in the box and scared the mess out of everybody, said Surprise, nigga. Before she could finish the N-word, she had 6 firearms pointed her direction. And Stax said, be easy. She with me. The female lieutenant said, oh, that's your work, Stax. And Rennie said, no, I'm his woman. And you look like you ready for a date with the Undertaker. Who the hell is this broad, Stax? The female lieutenant said, you don't want them problems. Rennie said, right. Let me guess. You run with 50 broads, and I bet you dollars to donuts. Y'all all be bluffing. Well, I only run with 2. And I guarantee I'll slap fire out of all 50 of y'all for free. Stax said, all right, that's enough. Let me holler at you in private. And the female lieutenant said, yeah, you better pull your girl together. And Stax said, watch your mouth. Then Javier said, we don't have time for any of this. What you need, Layla? And Layla said, I was actually coming to see you. I had some questions. And Javier said, that's right. Walk with me in the house real quick. I'll be right back. Then he, Layla, the lieutenant, and the group of soldiers headed into the house. As he was walking away, Sincere was walking up. He was pulling up the rear because he was on the phone. And when he saw Rennie, he thought to himself, damn, shorty a cold piece of work. And because his self-control was lacking, he said out loud, damn, I feel like the sun just came out. What's your name, shorty? Before Rennie could answer, Stax, who was already thrown off his square, said, nigga, you see a lady engaged in conversation with a man, you check with that man before you press that woman. Sincere said, my bad, nigga, that's you. And before Stax could respond, Rennie said, that's debatable. What you trying to do, young? I'm gonna tell you right now. Niggas love it over here. They just hate the rules and regulations. And Sincere chuckled and said, looks like she not checking for you, bro. You a good sport? Can you handle some healthy competition? And Stax said, nigga, I'm not the one you want to compete with. And I ain't competing for nothing that's already mine. And Rennie just smirked. She knew that this was about to get good. And when it was all over, she was going to get exactly what she wanted. Sincere said, look, I get you feeling, shorty, but you're going to have to watch how you talk to me. I outrank you. Stax said, and if you want to live to be crowned the head of the St. James family, I suggest you be careful how you talk to me. Now, I get that for the first time in your life, you feel like somebody, but you ain't never gonna be big enough to son me. Sincere said, and I get that you in your feelings because your shorty ain't claiming you, but Stax said, that's not my shorty. That's not my work. That's my woman. And she in her feelings right now because she need my hand around her throat and it's D all up in her guts. Then he looked at Rennie while saying, and when we get back from handling this business, she gonna be waiting in my villa, and I'm gonna give her everything she came here for. Now, everything you left the last time you was here is right where you left it, and there's a fleur de mal box on the bed, wrapped real nice and tied with a bow. Make sure you in that when I get back. At that moment, Rennie realized that Stax knew she was coming. Not only had he not underestimated her, but he'd prepared for her arrival with her favorite designer lingerie from Fleur de Mal. And she heard her little kitty cat purr. She said, all right, daddy. Turned, headed in the direction of Stax's villa, and pimped off. When she was gone, Sincere turned to Stax and said, listen, I think we need to get some things clear. Stax cut him off saying, you absolutely right. I ain't never warned a nigga before I handicapped him. On the strength of the fact that you are the first cousin of my mans, Killer Q, I'm letting you rock, but let me be pellucidly clear. It's 3 things a nigga can't have. The food off my plate, the money in my pocket, or the woman in my bed. You want to beat your chest? Have a pissing contest? Do that ish with Bruce. Matter of fact, do it with your brother. Sincere said, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Stax said, you gonna find out, nigga. And then he walked away, leaving Sincere sincerely confused.
No wonder whenever you right by my side, ain't nothing that no one can stand in between. It's no wonder you say you ain't sweating a nigga, then turn around, post me all over your page. The way I beat it, the next time you sexing a nigga, gon' make him J-roll in his grave. They told me love didn't cost me a thing. Shit almost cost me my life.
Meanwhile, in New York, Saint was in the middle of preparing for Tori's visit. He had a cute little honeycomb hideaway in the basement of a brownstone in Harlem that he procured a few years back, renovated and decorated with his own hands. That was his pastime, his project. The upper 3 floors, he turned into rental property that he was leasing to hardworking families who just needed some help and a fresh start. They knew him as Art, so he didn't have to worry about his cover being blown if by chance he and Tori ran into any of his tenants. In his spot, he turned a fully wide open basement into a kitchen, living room, master bedroom with a master bath, a guest bedroom that attached to a full bathroom that led out to the living room, and the living room led out to a patio with a garden in the back. And on the other side of the living room was a small study that also led out to the patio. Saint had been a busy man because this was one of 3 spots that he had in Harlem with similar setups and leased apartments above. Since he hadn't been at this particular apartment in a while, he was in the process of airing the place out and infusing the stagnated air with the scents of jasmine and rosewater when he got the phone call from Sincere, asking him if he minded heading to New York and having a conversation with his yeah. Saint had said, I'm already in New York, and I got plans that don't include handling business you should have already handled. Sincere said, I ain't know what to tell her. She had too many questions. Saint said, let me guess. So you just avoided her. Now the block is hot and you want me to do your dirty work? Sincere said, you can call it that. I just need you to let her know she need to lay low, just so I can get a team on her. Saint said, and what about old girl in Miami? Sincere said, I'm working on that. I don't want to call Catherine though. Anyway, you can swing the... Saint said, absolutely not. You're going to have to man up and tell our stepmother that you got your pot in multiple fires. I'll handle your headache here, but I gotta go. Saint was watching the cameras on the outside of his brownstone, so he'd seen when Tori's car pulled up. His eyebrow raised because it was clear that she was not in an Uber or a cab. The man who got out of the driver's seat of the chauffeured town car had a pistol on his hip, and Saint could tell when a man was on the job, and he was on the job. The man looked around and checked the scene, said something in the earpiece in his ear, walked around to the trunk, took Tori's bags out, looked around again, walked around to the passenger side, and opened her door. Then he posted up while he watched her walk to the building. By the time she made it from the sidewalk to the front steps, Saint was coming out of the door and down the steps. He nodded at the driver nodded back. He looked at Tori and smiled and said, ain't you a sight for sore eyes? I'm glad you made it safe.
Lord, I ain't no friendly ass nigga. I hate letting people get close to me. Only time you might catch me at a bitch house if I'm really helping my cousin with groceries. I feel like I'm stuck on Love Island. I'm homesick, pressed to get kicked out the villa. You wasted your time on these niggas that monkey around because you never been around gorillas. I done lived with a few of my exes, but somehow they still were long distance relations. I guess I judged every book by its cover. Ain't see their true colors till flipping the pages.
Then he kissed her on the forehead and picked up her bags. When they got inside, he carried the bags directly to the guest room and said, this is all yours. Make yourself comfortable. I know I told you that I'm off the clock, but I got something I gotta handle right quick. I figure I'll get it out the way. That way I'm all yours. Tori said, that's fine, but how long you plan on being gone? An hour later, Tori was as comfortable as a pig in a blanket. She'd showered, changed, and was enjoying the light refreshments that Art had left her on his patio while reading a good book and looking out at the garden when he'd said that he'd be gone for about 2 hours. She was confused about what she was supposed to do in this man's house. She was pleasantly surprised to see that he'd prepared. Her solitude was interrupted by a phone call that she sent to voicemail and Saint's second-floor tenant, who'd come out in the garden with her children. When she looked over and saw Tori sitting there, she waved and said, hey, beautiful, how you doing? Art don't never have company. I'm Mel. And you are? The two ladies chatted, and Mel was a motor mouth. She loved her some Art down bad, and she never missed an opportunity to tell anybody who would listen all about how her landlord had given her a new lease on life when he not only rented her an apartment fresh out of jail, but connected her with resources and programs to get her life together, get her children back, get a job, and re-enter society. And Tori was sufficiently impressed. An hour later, when Art returned, Tori watched as he interacted with Mel's children. It was clear that they loved him too, and watching him interact with them warmed her heart.
I done lived with a few of my exes, but somehow they still were long distance relations. I guess I judged every book by its cover. Ain't see their true colors till flipping the pages. It's crazy how I done committed to women more than I commit to that man in the mirror. They told me that lovers was blinding my vision. I'm listening while thinking, why can't it get clear? You had me at hello, and I ain't no good at goodbyes. I'm basically saying you stuck with me. Bobby was giving was ain't no debating that you my little baby, and I got full custody. Focus so much on where I wanna go, I ain't even realize that I'm right where
In
I
Puerto
wanna
Rico,
be.
when Sincere was done with Bruce, he was fit to be tied. He'd done his big one. He'd put up a front and absolutely appeared unbothered in front of Bruce. He'd gone in, head up, shoulders back, chest out.
I fall to fly. Maybe my pride is all the pride. Maybe it really ain't up to me, and I gotta sit back like God decide. Part of me wanna say fuck love. Part of me wanna be loved for real. Part of me be trying to dug love. Part of me just wanna hug for real. Maybe I'm cautious, took a few losses. I'm on my P's and my Q's. You be exhausted, probably get nauseous if you put your feet in my shoes.
And talk big nigga-ish. He definitely left Bruce with the impression that things between him and Natalia were a lot more serious than they actually were, and had gone a whole lot further than it actually had. And Bruce, despite the fact that his life was on the line, had talked big-ish too. Unlike Sincere though, he was rattled, and it was obvious he did not take too kindly to being introduced to the man in his ex's life. An ex that he was hell-bent on getting back. And he'd planned to use the problems that the five families were having with the international trafficking organization to his full advantage. Lorenzo's snooping and Sincere's presence had thrown a monkey wrench in that plan. And he was pissed. He said in his thick Puerto Rican accent, "You're not even her type. I can't even picture her with a suit-wearing, book-smart nigga posing as a gangster in hard bottoms." Sincere said, "Posing? Nigga, I'd knock the teeth out your mouth, but I might get blood on my tailored suit." She cut you off. "How long ago? And you still pressed? Let me find out that good got your nose wide open." I mean, she do that thing with her tongue, and I can imagine why it might be hard for you to let it go. But she doing it to me now, so. Sincere had no idea what he was talking about, but Bruce did. Bruce said, "Oh, really? Ask her about the thing I did with my tongue. She used to love how I rolled my R's on that clit." Sincere said, "Why would I ask my girl about what another nigga did when I'm the one doing it all now, and she ain't got no complaints? I'm mad I had to leave our warm bed to come here and question you about your weird little obsession with my girl. You out here digging in stuff you ain't got no business and dropping dime, trying to create a situation. So what? So you could be Captain Save-A-Ho?" Then Bruce continued with the lie that he'd been feeding Javier's team, and when Sincere's phone rang, he capitalized on the fact that Bruce couldn't hear who was on the other end. So he answered it, saying, "Hey baby, what's up?" Then he let Bruce watch and listen as he talked to who Bruce thought was Natalia, and Sincere made it good. He talked real dirty and kept it real greasy. And right when Bruce was ready to explode, he ended the phone call and got all the information he needed. Bruce said, "I hope you a real shot caller, nigga, because you're going to have to put down some real plays. I got an inside man, so I already know what the plan is. I'm already 2 steps ahead. And good luck keeping her satisfied, because when she was mine, I couldn't trust her further than I could throw her. Every time I looked around, she was sinning and grinning in some college boy's face. I'd pop up on her at school, and she with some nigga talking about they studying all hours of the night and day. Ask her about the nigga she left me for. The same nigga she told me for months was nobody. Turned out he definitely was somebody. How I see it, leopards rarely, if ever, change their spots. Good luck, nigga." And then Sincere left Bruce to the soldiers to find out exactly what the plan was. And on his way out, he called Natalia. He had some questions. She hadn't been answering the phone, so he didn't expect that she would now, but he had to try. And Natalia, who was busy enjoying her day and did not want to be interrupted continuously by calls from Sincere, decided that she would just answer. And when she did, she said, "Unless you're calling to discuss Chapter 2 of Invisible Man, please stop calling me. I am enjoying a much-needed day off." Sincere said, "Ralph Ellison can wait. I want to talk to you about another man. I just had the unfortunate displeasure to meet your ex-boyfriend, Bruce, and he said some rather interesting things. Some things that I think you and I need to discuss. According to Bruce, you got a problem with being faithful." Natalia chuckled and said, "Oh, really now?" Sincere said, "Yeah, you glossed over you all's breakup when we were talking about past relationships. And if the things that he's saying is true," Natalia said, "let me stop you there. You wanted to discuss past relationships. I didn't. I don't linger over dead things. And I don't go around explaining what went wrong in relationships that I'm no longer in. I'm not going to defend myself against whatever Bruce has accused me of. I did that when I was in a relationship with Bruce. If you asking me about it, then you already believe it. Well, believe whatever you want. If he told you I'm a snake, then nigga. Now, if you want to talk about present relationships, we can do that. Let's start with who you were with in Miami. Because when I talked to you 2 days ago, you sound like somebody had helped you get the kinks out." Sincere said, "Whoa, by your own admission, you seeing other people. I know you're not questioning me about who I'm seeing." Natalia said, "That's what I thought. Call me back when you want to discuss Chapter 2. Click. She hung up.
I took a second, looked at my reflection and said you gon' be who I choose. Got back to ballin' and I put my all into everything that I do. Foot on their necks, I want it all. I got my foot on the gas. Show me respect while I show you these poles and I put my foot in your ass. Soon as I get the fuck out of my feelings, that's when I make niggas start feeling the weight. I'm trying to elevate people through music. You listen, it's almost like hitting the J. I had to separate from anybody that sit around with no ambition or goals. I'm with the drama, I try to fuck karma, and nigga, my dick didn't fit in the hole. Make sure the one that's holding you at night ain't the motherfucker that's holding you back. Sometimes you got a GPS life. Know where you going, know where you at.
When Sincere and Stacks got back to the main house, Stephanie was sitting in a lawn chair in the parking lot, eating snacks and sipping on a champagne cola. When Stacks got out of the car, he said, "What the hell you doing, shorty?" Stephanie said, "I'm waiting for you. You and I need to talk. I understand that Rennie ran down on you earlier, and I need you to know that I tried to stop her. I even called my Uncle Manny and warned him that she was on her way, and he ain't even try to stop her. He told me that he owed her a solid. So we clear, I didn't do that for you. I did it for her. If you playing, find you another toy. Because that girl is Shell, and I'm loyal. So if she say that we draining your oil pan at 2 a.m., I'm bringing the tools. I don't care how many niggas you killed or how many plans you perfectly execute. You ain't seen nothing like an upset Rennie." Stack said, "Got it."
Late in the 30s, I'm saying it's surely still a lot that she could be learning from me. I aim it in cock, her brain is retarded, could make it in Harvard and earn a degree. She tired of dating, she tired of going out, hoping she trip up and stumble on love. Start faking a smile, say, "Babe, it ain't healthy to just keep on sweeping shit under your rug." I'm giving a game, I blew her mind before I decided to blow her the bag. They told me that I look good on the TV, I keep it too real, I don't know how to act. She be loving playing hard to get, she be playing even harder to keep. Yeah, mama grew up swimming with sharks, but she ain't never swimming waters deep.
Meanwhile, in Denver, Bosch and True were in the middle of a heated argument. Bosch had confronted True about putting him out of her bed at 3 a.m., and True had reiterated that Bosch did not need to catch feelings. Bosch said, "This not about that. It's about you sunning me. It's about you shutting me out under the guise of protecting me from falling in love with you. I told you, let me worry about my own heart. You worry about yours." When True started walking away, Bosch said, "I'm trying to have a real conversation with you, and you giving me your back?" True said, "I'm not going to argue with you. I said everything that I planned on saying." Bosch said everything except for what wakes you up at 3 a.m., shaking, crying, and putting me out. True said, "You want to know that bad? Okay, fine. Every night I have one of two dreams, or both, and I don't even know which one is wishful thinking. I dream that my man walks in and catches me in the bed with you, or I dream that I'm in labor, giving birth to Genesis, and it's you who's there holding my hand. And in that crowded room, I'm still all alone. And I don't even think you old enough to really understand what this feels like for me." Bosch said, "You keep talking about my age. Yeah, you're older than me, but not by that much. And I'm old enough to know what resentment looks like. It's clear that you resent me for being here. Why you won't just say that?" True said, "If I felt that way, I'd say it. If I had anything to say, I would. And I wouldn't give a damn how you felt about it. That would be between you and hell, because that's where you could go." And then she walked off.
I don't like nobody wasting my time. I have no intention to waste none of hers. She question me about bitches ringing my line. We fight, then we fuck, then I take her to splurge. Age ain't nothing but a limit on all this love I got for you. Them titties real, that ain't no silicone, and that ass is proper too. Age ain't nothing but a holiday that we celebrate every year. We ain't gotta die to go to heaven, baby, we already here.